Well, thank you very much. It's nice to meet all of you. I am the AVP for Survey Research, as Anna mentioned, and one of my duties at NAHB is to conduct survey research of home buyers. So today I'm going to bring you a lot of what we did last year in terms of what home buyers want in their home and their community. And then I'm going to drill down a little bit more and show you how they feel about green features specifically. So let's begin. That right there is a picture of what this study looks like. It's called What Home Buyers Really Want, 2021 edition. It's a unique study because it shows you what the average home buyer wants in terms of features of the home or technology, outdoor features, green features, windows, doors, kitchen, bathrooms, etc. So it shows you what the typical buyer wants, but it also breaks down those preferences by demographic factors. So people of different income groups, different age groups, different generations, different price points, different racial or ethnic groups, different locations in the country, how those subsets of buyers respond to these preference questions. I should tell you also that we conducted this survey in the midst of the pandemic last summer. And so we included a few questions related to how the crisis had impacted, if any, the preferences of home buyers. And if you're asking yourself who responded to, who is the universe in the study, it's people who had bought a home in the previous 3 years or are planning to buy one in the next 3 years. So we call them recent and prospective home buyers. So let's start. At the very broadest level, we asked home buyers if the pandemic had had any impact at all on their housing preferences in general. And as you can see on that pie chart, 67% of them said no, it had had no impact, but 25% said yes. And that's not a small minority. As you can imagine, not every kind of buyer responded to this question the same way. One of the factors that had the most weight on their response was whether there were teleworkers and or virtual students in the home. So for example, in households where there are no teleworkers or virtual students, only 9% of that group said they had actually felt an impact on their housing preferences from the health crisis. If you look at the right-hand side of that screen, of your screen, you'll see that the share is much larger, 43% in households where there's at least one teleworker and one virtual student. We narrowed it down a little bit more and asked them if the crisis had had any impact on the preference for home size. And as you can see there again, 67%, so a majority said no, they had had no change on the size home they want, but 21% do want a larger home as a direct result of COVID-19, whereas 12% want a smaller home. Again, let's look at this by the presence or absence of teleworkers, virtual students. On the left side, 10% of households where there are neither one of those, only 10% want larger homes as a result of COVID-19. The share, if you look on the right-hand side, is 35% in households where there's at least one of each, one teleworker and one virtual student. That's the share that want a larger home as a direct result of COVID-19. Another result that we found from the survey is that there has been a shift in location preferences toward the outlying suburbs. If you look at this graph here, it'll show you that prior to COVID-19, 26% of respondents in our study wanted to live in an outlying suburb. Now, since the pandemic, 30% is the share. If I open up the bars here for all the other locations that were listed in the survey, you will see that the shares either declined a little bit or stayed about the same. So close-in suburb, 29% prior to COVID, now 28%. This one is a rural area, 24 to 23%, downtown central city, 12 to 11, and actually unchanged for outside downtown in a central city at 9%. In terms of the exterior design of the home, we found that buyers have very, very diverse preferences when it comes to this particular aspect of the home. 32% of them said they prefer a traditional home on the exterior, 24% would prefer a contemporary home, 16% a transitional home, and 14% a modern home. By the way, the definitions that you see in the parentheses were given to buyers in the study, as well as the pictures that you're seeing in your screen, so that they could have a broad idea, representation visually of what each exterior design look like. So as you can see, there's no exterior design that commands a majority preference from home buyers across the country here. Single family detached homes are still the first choice for most buyers. 67% of them would prefer to buy that type of home. 15% would prefer a townhouse, 8% a multifamily unit, and 6% a manufactured home. Some pretty important preferences to keep in mind. 85% of buyers prefer the kitchen and the dining room to be open, either completely or partially open. 63% of them prefer the washer and the dryer to be on the first floor. 58% would rather have a single-story home. 58% will be happy with either 2 or 2.5 bathrooms. About half, 46%, want 3 bedrooms. A little over half, 51%, would prefer gas for cooking. A plurality, 45%, would also prefer gas for water heating. But the opposite is true for heating and air conditioning. 52% of buyers prefer electricity for heating and air conditioning. All right, that brings me to what's probably the part of the survey that I use the most because it's really informative. We presented buyers with a very long list, over 200 features of all different aspects of the home: windows, doors, kitchens, bath, outdoor green, accessibility, technology features, and we asked them to rate them on a consistent scale so that we could compare apples to apples at the end of the day. So for each one of those features, the buyers were told us, is it essential? Meaning it would be unlikely for that person to buy the home without this feature. Is it desirable? It would seriously influence them to buy the home. Are they indifferent? It wouldn't really matter. It wouldn't influence their purchase decision one way or another. And do not want. This feature is likely to cause them to reject the home if that feature is included. So with that consistent ranking, we took all 200 features and produced the most wanted list, which is what's showing up on your screen now. Everything that you see here was rated either essential, which is the red bar, or desirable, the blue bar, by at least 80% of buyers. So these features are very, very popular. At the very top, you have a laundry room and exterior lighting. 87% of buyers want to have a laundry room and exterior lighting in their homes. You also have 3 energy efficiency features on this most wanted list. Number 4 there is Energy Star windows, and then down towards the bottom is Energy Star appliances, and then at the very bottom, energy efficient lighting. 3 energy efficiency features. There are 2 outside. There's the patio, number 5, and then there's a front porch a little bit lower. There are 2 in the kitchen, a double sink and a walk-in pantry. And rounding out this list, you've got ceiling fans, you've got hardwood flooring for the living areas of the main level, and a full bathroom on the main level of the home. So again, this is the overall most wanted list among all the 200 plus features that were included in this question. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to narrow it, and I'm going to focus just on the 26 green features that were part of that large 200 plus question. And I'm going to show you how buyers rated just those green features. This chart shows you the top 5 most wanted. They were rated essential or desirable by more than 70% of buyers. As you can see, the top 3 are so popular that they made it onto the overall most wanted list. That's why you see at the top here the Energy Star windows and appliances and efficient lighting that uses less energy than traditional bulbs. But also on this list, you find an Energy Star rating for the entire home and triple pane insulating glass windows. If you look at this the top 5 most wanted green features and ask yourself, what do they have in common? The answer is they all help with energy conservation. They all help the buyers save money on utility bills. The next tier, if you will, of green features are wanted by 50 to 70% of buyers. So this is the top 3 here also deal with energy efficiency, insulation higher than required by code, tankless water heater, and low insulating glass windows. And then those 3 are followed by 4 features that deal with the quality of the indoor air. A home dehumidification system, electronic air cleaner, low VOC materials, and a mechanical ventilation system. All that sort of second to energy efficiency features. And then after those two, finally, you find at the bottom of that chart water conserving features, water conserving toilets, shower heads, bathroom faucets. So in summary, then you've got energy efficiency, then indoor air quality, and then water conservation. That's sort of the ranking, how buyers view green features and the importance of them. The final tier, the last tier of green features are the ones on your screen now. They're wanted by fewer than half of the buyers. So everything from geothermal heating and cooling there at the top, components made from locally produced materials, all the way down to a roof that is partially or completely covered by plants, which, as you can see, is the least wanted of all. I should tell you, though, that even though they're wanted by fewer than half, the most popular rating that most of these items received was not do not want. The most popular rating was indifferent. Remember, the scale was essential, desirable, indifferent, do not want. Most of these, the most popular option was indifferent, which tells you that buyers are really ambivalent about most of these features, and therefore they're not going to be willing to pay for things they don't really care about, one way or another. Importantly, though, we must keep in mind the factors or the features that really cause a strong negative reaction from buyers. And the three that do that, the three green features that do that the most are on your screen now. 46% of buyers reject the idea of having a roof that is partially or completely covered by plants. That was the only green feature that received, excuse me, for which there was a plurality of buyers saying they reject that feature. As you can see, the other two here on your screen, barrels that collect rainwater for irrigation, that was 25% rejection, do not want, and a roof that mounted electricity generating wind turbine for 24%. Far smaller shares than the 46% for the roof with plants. Every other green feature of all the ones that I've shown you, the 26 that we included in this question, every other one of them was rejected by fewer than 20% of buyers, which tells you that they don't really, green features tend not to cause, for the most part, a strong negative reaction from buyers, other than the roof, obviously. All right, another section of this survey, which was super interesting, showed buyers' trade-offs. And these are basically options between two options, one of which was green and the other one was not green, obviously mutually exclusive options. And in most cases, buyers, the majority of buyers, chose the green option. So in this first one I'm showing you here, 66% of buyers chose features and finishes made of more expensive materials that last longer, compared to 34% who would rather have features and finishes made of materials that cost less but need to be replaced more often. 60% also chose this green feature, a home oriented to make efficient use of the sun's energy for heating and cooling, versus 40% who would rather have a home oriented to optimize the attractiveness of that home as viewed from the street. 59% would choose low maintenance landscaping with plants that grow in the local climate, versus 41% who would choose conventional landscaping with the traditional lawn and trees, etc. 58% would choose a heating and cooling system that's designed to meet their current needs efficiently right now, versus 42% who would choose a system that's larger than they need now, but has excess capacity for future needs, possible future needs. Barely a majority, but still a majority, 51% of them said they would rather have narrower sidewalks and streets with more green space, rather than the 49% who would have wider sidewalks and streets. And finally, the only trade-off where the green option did not win was this one here. 62% of them said they would rather get a home on a cul-de-sac or other street design with limited traffic flow, compared to one on a continuous interconnected street with more efficient traffic flow. That was chosen only by 38% of buyers. Now, we also wanted to find out in this survey if buyers are aware about the various green certification programs for homes out there. And so we presented a long list of them and asked them if they were simply aware of their existence. And as you can see, the Energy Star program is the only one known to a majority of buyers. 73% of them said they recognize the Energy Star program. As you can see, for all the other ones that we listed in the survey, the shares are significantly smaller. Under 30% of them recognize any of the other programs. At best, 28% are aware about the Lead for Homes program, and 15%, all the way down, at worst, 15% recognize the Passive House Institute program. We also wanted to understand how much they would be willing to pay for one of these certifications if it was done by an outside independent third party. And so what I'm showing you here are averages. Buyers told us that they would be willing to pay roughly an average of $1,900 for a certification that the home is above code for energy efficiency. They would pay around $1,600 for one that the home is above code for water efficiency. Just south of $1,700 for a certification the home is above code for indoor environmental quality. And then the last two, a little bit higher amounts, $2,100, close to $2,200 for a comprehensive standard that includes all of the above, plus efficient use of resources and a friendly lot design. And then also $2,000 on average for a certification the home is above code for health and wellness. Finally, this brings me to the last two slides. Builders and architects are typically concerned about, they want to know if buyers are concerned about the impact that building their home has on the environment, so that they can choose accordingly, what they put in these homes and how they do it, how they build it. So we asked buyers if they're concerned about the impact that building their home has on the environment. 22% of them said, nope, that is not something I'm concerned about. Let's see, 15% said, yes, I'm concerned and I would actually pay more to help the environment. But the majority of buyers fall in this large category. 63% said, yes, count me in. I'm very concerned, but I am just not willing to pay more for an environment-friendly home. Builders typically laugh when they see this statistic because they know it's true. So then we rephrase the question. The last chart showed you that buyers are not really moved by just the abstract idea of helping the environment. So we rephrase the question and we ask buyers how much extra they would be willing to pay upfront in the price of the home if it saved them $1,000 a year in utility costs. And as you can see, we got a completely different answer. 43% of them said they would pay $1,000 to $10,000 more to get that kind of savings, and 35%, which is not a small share, 35% would pay $10,000 or more to achieve that kind of savings. On average, if you look at that square, they would pay over $9,000 extra on top of the price of the home to achieve that kind of savings. So the takeaway from this slide and the previous slide is that if builders are going to include energy efficiency features in their homes, they should advertise them and promote those homes in terms of the savings that buyers will achieve by paying extra for that home, and not simply as the abstract idea of the home being environmentally friendly, because that probably will not move a lot of buyers' pockets. So that's what I've got. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you, Rose, for that. So before we open it up for broader questions, it looks like my colleague Jacqueline Toole had one. Jacqueline, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
So Rose, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit based on one of the comments that came in the chat. Back on your slide about the undesirable features and rooftop plants and gardens being one of them, or the top one, is it safe to say that that is the mindset of those looking for single family homes? And we don't know, or maybe we know in another survey, how rooftop amenities are viewed in multifamily projects?
Yes, I would say that this is the view of people looking for single family homes, because as you can see, if you remember, a slide back here told us that the majority of respondents want a single family detached home.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody saw that correlation. And if you're doing multifamily, this survey didn't specifically ask about green amenities when it comes to multifamily, which could be something we consider for the future. but oftentimes, at least anecdotally, we've heard that those are desirable. So just to keep in mind the single family context here.